The Grim Tale of Grace Macabre, Chapter 51. Jeff drove while Jacob sat in the passenger seat using his phone to further investigate the Runaways. Jeff was an angry driver, honking his horn, flashing the emergency lights, and yelling profanities at anyone who slowed him down the tiniest bit. Because of that, Jacob was resigned to a near-futile attempt to navigate his internet search while holding on for dear life as Jeff swerved around slower-moving traffic. "So what's the surname the Runaways are using?" Jacob asked. He dropped his phone when Jeff slammed on the brakes. An elderly man strolled in front of the car in his attempt to cross the street. "You nearly killed that guy." "Well, he shouldn't be in my way," Jeff shot back before hurling obscenities. He slammed his fist down on the horn, causing the old man to smack the hood of the car and yell at him to slow down. "Battaglia. That's the name they're using, but I couldn't find anything about them. I think it's fake." Jacob snatched his phone from his lap and continued his search. He had the right-of-way, you know. It was a clearly marked crosswalk. Jeff rolled down his window, threatened to arrest the man for jaywalking, then stomped on the accelerator, throwing Jacob back in his seat. "Bad place for a crosswalk, if you ask me." "A crosswalk that connects a park with a school," Jacob said, causing Jeff to give him a look that suggested he should not try to launch a career as a comedian. "How dare they put one there?" Jacob was unable to find anything concerning the Runaways associated with the Battaglia name. He was, however, able to pull up information on the Pit. "You know, you have that whole Clint Eastwood as Dirty Harry routine down pat. Do you think those movies are police training films? You know they aren't, right?" Jeff reached between the seat where he kept his taser, pulled the weapon from its holster, and held it up for Jeff to see. "I knew the good old days of dealing with criminals as if they were bad guys were gone when they issued us these pieces of crap. Now we are to assume the criminals are just misunderstood and in need of a hug. We can't even shoot them if they have guns pointed right at our heads. We have to use these stupid things." Jacob smiled. "You know, I agree with you, Jeff, but you just can't kill everybody that makes you mad." Jeff scowled. "It'd make the world a lot safer if we could just shoot the bad guys. It would send a clear message to the other scumbags who think it's okay to rob, rape, and murder." Jacob turned his attention back to his phone. "Okay, there isn't a lot here about the club. I've found the liquor license, the business license, and all the other relevant permits. Everything looks good. It's a legitimate business that is run under an LLC called Enlightened Entertainment." "Yeah," Jeff snarled. "A bunch of kids getting drunk, high, and into all kinds of illicit behavior is enlightened and entertaining." "Can you tell who owns the LLC?" They drove past a sign informing them that they were no longer inside the town. The Pit was located a couple more miles down the road. "No, I can't, and that's pretty strange. I was led to believe that it was their leader, Ari, but here it's not so clear. There's no name, only another LLC." They drove the next couple of minutes in silence. When they arrived at the club, it appeared empty. There were no cars in the front lot. It was only 6 o'clock, full darkness still an hour away, and the club didn't officially open until 9. They drove past and parked on an old logging road. They sat for a while, making small talk and staking out the club. Jacob's phone buzzed, alerting him to a text. He read it and turned to Jeff. "That's from Madison. She found Marcy Barnes at the Heisinger's place. Marcy confessed to writing those final entries in Justin's journal, so that means Grace is innocent. Good, Jeff said. Let me guess. Marcy had a psycho crush on Justin and was just jealous because he talked about Grace a lot. And when he killed himself, she snuck into his room and wrote all that crap in the journal to make Grace suffer. Jacob nodded. That's pretty much what Madison says in the text. Not the sanest scenario. Jeff shrugged. Marcy was one of those crazy, clingy psycho girls. She was acting more on emotion than logic. Speaking of psycho girls, what do you think about Madison? Jacob shot his partner a questioning look. You think Detective Madison is a psycho girl? Jeff shook his head. I don't know. I mean, what do we really know about her? She transferred a couple of months ago from Los Angeles and keeps to herself. I did some checking, and she was apparently a badass out there. She has a lot of arrests and saved a few lives in the process. So I find it odd that she would transfer to this tiny little town. Maybe she needed a change of pace, Jacob said, dismissing Jeff's comment. Jeff glanced at his watch. It was 6:45. Maybe. He started the car and drove across the road and into the club's parking lot. He shut off the engine. But I feel there's something more to Detective Madison. Jacob's phone rang. It's the district attorney, he said. He did not answer the call. Jeff's phone rang. Now he's calling me. Jeff also did not answer. So why didn't you take his call? Jacob asked. Jeff opened his door and got out of the car. Well, my guess is for the same reason you didn't take it. If we let him tell us that Marcy framed Grace, our investigation would be over. And I don't really want it to be over. I think these runaway kids are scumbags and up to something. Jacob was in complete agreement. He followed Martin to the club's entrance, and they peered through a set of glass doors into the pitch-black beyond. So, you think anyone is here? Jeff asked. Hard to tell. I don't see any lights on in there, and the staff probably doesn't get here for another hour or so to prep for the night's business. Good, Jeff said, and started around the side of the building. Where you going? Jacob asked, though he knew full well what his partner was about to do. When they made this into a club, they built a receiving door and back. We're going to go in that way. Wait a minute, Jeff. We can't just break in. Jeff glanced over his shoulder at his cautious partner. You don't have to follow me if it makes you uneasy. You can stay out here. Jacob shook his head. Jeff had excellent instincts. He would not break the rules unless he felt there was imminent threat to an innocent person. In fact, only one time in 5 years as partners had he stepped outside the lines. That incident ended in the rescue of 2 women who had been abducted by a twisted man dressed as Santa Claus. It had also ended with Jacob receiving 2 9mm rounds to his chest. Though he was not a religious man, Jacob said a silent prayer as he followed his partner around the back of the building. As he turned the corner, the 2 ragged scars just below his right shoulder twitched and seemed to burn with the memory of being touched by the hand of death.